Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's been an excellent debate, and I will do my best shortly to summarise some of the most memorable contributions. But I'm glad that my friend and new colleague, the member for Leeds North East, I'm the new one, not him, of course, predicted at the outset of this debate that there would be a consensus in this House that the rising scale of the crisis needs to be tackled and the importance to follow up the Bishop of Truro's recommendations on it. However, it would be remiss, I think, of me not to say that, of course, it is important that the Bishop of Truro and other senior members of the Church of England must be careful what they preach for. And whilst they and we are right to stand up for Christians overseas, they were entirely wrong in the pastoral guidance that said that only church-approved sexual relations were between married heterosexual couples. And if any of us didn't fit into that category, we should be abstinent. Why this is important in this debate is because tolerance on all sides is important, and we must practice what we preach. We can't be intolerant in one respect here, but tolerant and ask for tolerance and respect elsewhere. And so what we've heard in this debate is some very good examples of why tolerance is important. And let's remember, Christianity is often the bellwether of whether a state is repressive or not. And repressive states tend to choose to repress Christians. We know that Christians in many countries have suffered huge amounts of repression. And of course, since the US-led invasion that toppled Saddam, the Christian community there has dwindled by 83%, 1.5 million, to now just 250,000 Christians. In Sri Lanka, we have seen the rise of attacks on both Christians and Muslims. I've been to Sri Lanka many times, and I've even been shocked at the level that the intolerance sometimes permeates. My driver will refuse to go into Muslim-owned restaurants with me sometimes, and that is a deep concern that we need to tackle. And of course, India, where the rise of the latest nationality laws mean that many Muslims feel that their place is not being recognised in India. But it doesn't just affect Muslims, it also affects Christians in India as well. And the rise of intolerance and a Hindu nationalism is not a thing that we should celebrate. And whilst Christian communities have suffered, we must also, of course, remember the Rohingya communities in Myanmar and the Yazidis in Iraq and the Uyghur Muslims that we also heard about in China. And of course, atheists around the world that are also often persecuted. And in Iran, particularly the Baha'i faith, which haven't been mentioned today, but I know in my constituency where we have a Baha'i centre would be very keen for me to mention them as well. And I think the lesson is that where intolerance is, whether it be because you are a Christian or a Muslim or because you have no faith or a faith, it should be intolerable. And we all should find that intolerable. And that's why some of the debates and points that we heard today were really important, particularly the contributions from my honourable friend from West Ham, who I think summed up importantly when she finished saying, if we don't stand up, who are we? Who are we as, of course, one, we consider ourselves the mother of all parliaments, one of the birthplaces of democracy. Who are we if we as a country do not stand up for important values? And that's why when the honourable member for South West Bedfordshire talked about the importance of getting our diplomacy linked to human rights and freedom of religion, I think that resonates across the views of the whole House. The member for Strangford, of course, talked about his work in the APPG, and he should be applauded for that, and of course the recommendations that he read out that I hope the government will not only continue to respond to but help start to implement. We heard from the honourable member from Beckenham, who I think talked particularly importantly about the repressive nature of Saudi Arabia, one of our allies, one of our key allies in the Middle East, that might have made some progress, but clearly not enough. And we have a responsibility to look at how we not only do diplomacy, but how all of our organs of state interact with those in Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the repression there. The honourable member for North Antrim, of course, mentioned the Colombo attacks and that Christians in this country were often repressed. And I think that all of those contributions were important. The honourable member for Stone, of course, mentioned the work of Open Doors, which I think is, we all recognise, an important body of work. And if there is one positive thing to come out of their report, it does show that some of the attacks and murders this year have reduced. And that was, of course, mentioned earlier on by my honourable friend from Leeds North East. But the bulk of that appears to be down to the decline in numbers of killings in Nigeria. Still the deadliest place in the world to be a Christian, but where any fall in the death toll is, of course, welcome. However, I hope that the Minister of State shares my concern that at the same time that we've seen a reduction and a pushback in Nigeria, the threat of Boko Haram, of which we heard some extremely moving statements from the honourable member from Collington, have just spread elsewhere. And Boko Haram and other extremist jihadist groups in northwest Africa now need to be tackled in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Niger, and in other countries. And whilst there is a reduction in one, what we have seen is an increase of death and persecution in other neighbouring countries, and that needs to be rapidly tackled, and we need to rapidly put some attention on that. So perhaps in her response, the Minister of State could tell us what work is being done at the international level, and particularly with the African Union, to try and get a grip in its situation before every country in that region and every Christian in that region is facing the same kind of crisis that they are facing in Nigeria today. I think we've heard a good debate, and thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for presiding over it.
Heather Wheeler.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Deputy Speaker. With the leave of the House, I will reply. This has been such a lively and times impassioned debate, and it's a testament to the strength and feeling about this issue across the House and across the country that no one should suffer discrimination, violence or persecution because of their faith or belief or for not following a faith. I shall try to respond to all of the points raised and to highlight the UK's action on this issue, particularly, first of all, on the blasphemy laws. We are deeply concerned by the way blasphemy laws are widely abused. The government regularly applies diplomatic pressure to countries that abuse their blasphemy laws, and this is often done behind the scenes because of the sensitivity to the issue. I know that members of this House care deeply about the treatment of religious minorities in Pakistan, including Christians, and particularly pay, as so many others have done today, tribute to the honourable member for Strangford, who I know works particularly hard to raise awareness on this issue. To answer the questions also about Pakistan, the government shares these concerns. We're regularly urging the government of Pakistan to ensure that all its citizens enjoy the full range of human rights as laid down in the Constitution of Pakistan and enshrined in international law. The government strongly condemns forced marriage and forced conversions. In India, our missions often bring together members of minority communities, including Christian groups, to better understand the religious and cultural divides and to help bridge them, including through the projects we fund. Colleagues have understandably expressed particular concern about the safety and security of minority communities in the Middle East in light of recent events. So let me state clearly and on the record that this government will continue to promote and protect human rights in the region. We will not shy away from urging governments to protect the rights of all their citizens in accordance with international human rights law.
Will the Minister allow?
Of course.
She's several times mentioned the policy of urging and condemning, but the government does have considerable financial leverage in terms of the huge international development budget. Does the government have a policy of using this budget quite legitimately to put pressure on governments who abuse human rights, that if they want to continue to get large amounts in aid, they will have to mend their ways?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for his... Sorry, right honourable friend, I beg his pardon, for his intervention. It has been mentioned a couple of times, and I will be coming on to that in a little while.
Can I just, before the Minister... Sorry. Can I gently say, though, that my anxiety about that line is almost cultural imperialism, and although I respect it, there are others who are not in need of our aid, who are more substantially economically viable. It doesn't mean that they should miss our opprobrium because they don't need our dosh, to put it succinctly. We need to find ways. The FCO is supposed to be one of the most skilled foreign offices in the world. I'm sure they can find ways of doing this without taking away food from those who need it most. Yes.
Well, I think the honourable lady epitomises how difficult this matter is and how skillful our wonderful civil servants and others need to be on this matter. Let me get back to where I was, about Iraq. And the UK has committed more than £260 million in humanitarian support over the last 6 years. And this funding has provided a vital lifeline for emergency food, shelter, medical care and clean water to the most vulnerable in Iraq, including members of the minority communities such as the Christians and the Yazidis. And in Syria, Christians and other minorities have suffered dreadfully in the conflict, particularly at the hands of Daesh. And the UK is working for a political settlement which protects the rights of all Syrians, regardless of ethnicity or religion, and we are supporting work to bring accountability and justice, including survivors of religious persecution. Now, to get to Nigeria, where my honourable friend from Congleton spoke so movingly on issues there, paragraph by paragraph, I was almost ashamed to listen to it. We have seen communities of all faiths affected by rising levels of violence. Communities of different religions live together peacefully across most of the country. Insurgent groups, as she mentioned, the Fulanis and the Boko Haram and Islamic State, West Africa, seek to undermine the right of freedom of religion as protected by the Nigerian constitution, with appalling attacks against civilians, including a recent spike in Christian targets. And I will pass on the request to DFID from the Honourable Lady from Congleton to reply directly to her. A message was not passed on, a question was made, what have we done to make it clear to the Nigerian authorities at the highest levels about the importance of protecting civilians, including ethnic and religious minorities? So to answer those questions, we do regularly raise the concerns about increasing levels of violence with the Nigerian government, including at the most recent time by the Prime Minister during his meeting with President Buhari at the UK Africa Investment Summit on the 20th of January. So it was important important to that question was asked of me, and we've got it on the record.